My wow. We're just having so many issues today. Welcome everybody.
Yeah,
Welcome.
chaos.
Yeah, you have stepped into chaos that is, are we caught up yet? I will just warn you ahead of time. My camera is acting up. Yes, I am aware. Yes, I tried and fixed it. Uh I'm too tired to care, to be honest. So, if you came for my face, which you didn't, but if you did, I'm sorry. You'll have to stare at Sam for most of this.
I
So,
apologize. I'll just go like
same.
this.
Just kidding. Sorry, I walked into that one and I couldn't resist. Anyways, okay. Um, so welcome to Marvel edition of Are We Caught Up Yet? Again, I appreciate you guys coming. And today we're gonna be reviewing Ant-Man. Before we do that, a couple of rigmarole things. You can find us on youtube.com/save the game media and podcast services. If you want to show us extra love, you can go to patreon.com/save the game media. And as always, I'm joined by Sam. How are you, Sam? And what have you been watching? I'm
I'm
busy
all
and
right.
nothing.
How do you always know?
It's because it's the same answer every time.
I am very busy. That is correct. Um, uh, not that you asked this. I'm still always disappointed that for some reason, on a consistent basis, any intro played here through our software, I don't get to listen to or see happen. You know,
Except for that one time that I was like, oh, how was the intro? And then you're like, what the hell?
I actually had it for once. I don't know
Yeah,
why. It just happened. Because they're good
it's
intros, if I
manifesting.
do say so myself. Um,
Thanks.
what have I watched anything? I did technically. I rewatched. Um, Not that I can talk about it, but I rewatched Loki with my family.
Oh,
The Disney
was it a
Plus show.
rewatch for them as well or first watch for them?
Um, Rewatch for my mum. First watch for my dad. Because we're preparing for season 2, which comes out in a
Oh,
month tomorrow. Um,
okay.
and my dad is now technically, because we did a full rewatch as a family a while back. He's all caught up, and he has watched the past few Disney Plus series, and now he's sort of like, well, if you guys are going to watch it, I'm technically up to speed, so I might as well watch it as well. So we said, well, and you'll know this when we get there, you won't you I mean, it obviously makes sense, like you can't watch a season 2 if you haven't watched a season 1, but that's not always the case because it is sometimes dependent. But
Like
yeah, we
American
said
Horror Story and stuff like that.
for, yeah, that kind of thing. Black Mirror,
Mm.
like particularly for Loki, you will just have absolutely no idea what's going on if you haven't seen the first season. So yeah, watch that. Just as well, no, I shan't spoil my opinion too much, but enjoyed it as much as I did the first time. Put it that way.
That's good. That's
Mm.
good. Can't wait to watch it.
Yeah.
Um,
In
Genuine
5
on
years'
that
time.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I have to say, this has just made my brain think of this, but when we went to Across the Spider-Verse, someone in our party of people that came with had not seen the first one against our explicit advice.
Mm.
Like we had booked the tickets days in advance. They had plenty of time to watch it, and they didn't. And then they were grumpy that they didn't understand what was going on.
I don't, like, people did that again. You won't understand yet, but like, I mean, you will understand, like, contextually, but not in terms of like the actual specifics. Like, I knew people that went to see Infinity War, which is a film coming down the pipe for us, and they'd seen a couple of the films prior, but not all of them, especially not the ones leading up to. And then they, like, exactly the same, they complained and were annoyed that they didn't understand what was going on. Like, well, surely by the nature of the beast, you know that it's part of a series
Mm-hmm.
that's connected in the same way that a sequel is to its predecessor in any
Exactly.
franchise.
People are
So,
silly.
yeah,
I don't understand it.
no.
Especially like, I don't know. Oh, now we get the fun camera. Okay. I'm here for it.
Well, I've
Do
got
I know
no
it's
visuals
going?
on my end now, so I think it's
Oh.
just doing. It's like giving each person. Oh, now I've got the fun camera. Yeah, now
Oh,
I've got the
now
fun
it's
camera.
going black. Okay.
Oh wow! It's so
Oh,
whatever
and
you've
now
got,
we're
I've
back
got
to
the
normal.
opposite.
Yeah.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's you? What been watching?
Um, I am doing okay. I'm getting excited for my upcoming tattoo. Um, I am going to visit another state shortly. Um, so that'll be fun. And yeah, just kind of been really, really busy with work. I'm almost done migrating the macros, which is like the things that you click on to basically type up an email for you. Um, they had to be all of them had to be rewritten, and they hadn't been like audited in like literally years. So I've cut about 100 of them out of the 450 and rewrote the other. Like I'm at 300 right now, and I need to do another 50. So
Hmm.
yeah, while I've been doing that, I've just been watching Suits. Almost done with season 5. Yeah. So that's what I've been doing.
Cool.
You
Cool.
know, nothing else I could be watching. So
I'm not going to make any comments.
to be fair, I do need something that I'm only half paying attention to because I am technically working. So it's just
Hmm.
noise to keep me
Yeah,
entertained
that's fair.
and keep my brain focused. So alrighty. Oh wait, I did finish that one. What was that? Disney show. And I wanted to talk about it again because I think it's worth it. Kizazimoto. Watch it. It was fantastic. It was like 10 really short episodes. It's like an anthology thing. Kind of like Black Mirror-ish, but way lighter because Disney. And also it's like all African creators
Hmm.
and lore. And it was really freaking good. So watch it. Okay, that's it for sure. All right, let's get into it. General thoughts on Ant-Man. You've already made predictions about how you think I feel.
Yeah.
Your predictions for everybody were that I'm embarrassed that I made fun of it and that
Hmm.
I really loved it. Is
Yeah.
that
I
correct?
guess. I guess on reflection, love could be a strong word, but my wager is that you came out positive.
Okay. So like even if it was 51%, still positive.
I think it would be higher than that. So I don't think
Okay.
quite as arbitrary in that fashion. But I think that you would think it. I think you'll think that it's good to great, somewhere in that range. It's not like amazing or anything, but it's in the good to great range.
Okay. Okay. That's a good guess. I will
Hmm.
get ahead of it and say I'm not embarrassed I made fun of the show. I still think Ant-Man's dumb. Like I still think the name Ant-Man is really silly.
This
I
whole thing is
stand by my
dumb.
judgment.
This whole thing is dumb.
It's true, but I do stand by my judgment of like being concerned that it was called Ant-Man. Um I will say I think I want to like reflect on it during the episode. I think this one's my favorite film that we've watched so far. And by favorite film, like by a large margin. I do
Wow.
love Guardians, but I think it is ahead of Guardians.
Damn.
So I did really love this film.
Wow. Who
You
would have
should have
guessed?
just committed to
Who would
your
have guessed? I should have
prediction.
committed. I should have committed.
You should have.
I was two in my own head. I had the
Yeah.
gut instinct, and then as soon as you said the word love, I was like, oh, that might be strong. So I was like, I'm going to cover my
To
bases
be
and just
honest,
backtrack a little bit.
I love most things, so it's not that strong of a word.
I suppose. I suppose.
I I say I love you to my coworkers sometimes, so
Mm,
so yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
it's cool.
What are your thoughts on Ant-Man general?
I guess I played my hand there, didn't I? Really.
Yeah.
I think
You
I
kind
think
of
I
did.
think I. It doesn't seem I'm strong on it as you are. Um,
Okay.
I do think it's very good. Um, I like that it's more. I'm really not making a pun. I like that it's more small scale than other films. Like it's not some
Mm,
world-ending thing that he's got to stop. It is just a bad business guy at the end of the day, which is fitting. I think the marketing was like the
I disagree. I think he might be one of the worst villains in my opinion. How could he do that to Anthony? I feel very strongly about this.
yeah, and you just saw the little wing fly down. Heartbreaking. Um,
I was really sad. I want you to know.
I could have guessed that, to be honest.
Hey,
Um,
we didn't come for a roast of Bria.
you literally just said you love most things, so my assumption could be that you probably loved Anthony because he named it. You know,
Hmm.
if he didn't name it, it would still might be a bit
I
like,
knew that's what
oh,
they were
that poor
doing. The
ant. But
moment that they named him, I
yeah,
was like, "Oh, he's dead."
yeah. But no, I think it's a good film. I like the smaller scale. I think there are issues. Um, I think if we're speaking about certain actors specifically, I think this is potentially some of the weakest acting we've seen from very specific people,
No way.
which brings it down a little bit. Um, and I think that which we will get more into. I don't know how much of the I suppose none of the backstory for this film. I think like the directing is a little bit bland. Um, like some of the cinematography is pretty
I will
decent,
fight
especially
you.
when he shrinks, but the directing itself is sort of lacking personality. I think, like visually, I think it looks, especially compared to something like Guardians, relatively cookie cutter, which isn't inherently a bad thing, but coming off of the heels of some of those more visually interesting films, I don't, not that that's necessarily fair to criticize this film for its contemporaries, but I think that
You
that
ready for this
context does still
Joby?
matter to some extent.
You
So
ready? It's because Ant-Man's just a regular guy, okay? So they're reflecting him.
stop sniffing the copium, okay? Like there's just sometimes there aren't excuses, there aren't reasons. There
I
is a
feel you.
reason, but it's not what you
I
think.
really enjoyed this film, and I will fight you to the death.
That's fine.
Uh,
I'm glad you're willing to defend it. Yeah, like I'm again, I'm still high on it, but I'm just not as high on it as you,
mm,
which is fine. But I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. Okay. Let's start with the quick and easy topic. Soundtrack. Don't know her.
I do. I agreed, but I do like and I guess technically it's hard because you've only seen this film and nothing that follows it. Um, so you've like maybe heard the OST once whilst you were watching the film. But there is like a recurring theme that is played that is Ant-Man's music, which I like. Like it's a good track. It's immediately recognizable and you'll agree with me in the future. I'm just
Okay,
putting it on the table. Um,
I believe you.
but no, I agree that it again is in many factors and areas relatively generic.
The soundtrack. Everything else, though. No.
We'll agree to
And
disagree.
no, I'll fight you. I'm so serious. Okay, so characters. I think it's a good place to start. I don't think there's too many like themes to this movie. I think the movie theme is mostly just like trying to learn how to be a good person slash dad.
Hmm.
I think that would mostly be like what the theme is ish. But
Yeah, and also
characters.
like your past doesn't define you, I guess, right?
Mhm. Yeah, but
Because
there's nothing like I don't think there's too much like in terms of like themes.
no, not overall, no.
Um okay, let's see. Well, that was not helpful. Ant-Man film. Okay, thank God. Just started listening all the comic book characters. I was like, this isn't helpful. Anthony is listed. I just want that to be made aware because that makes me really happy. Um, okay. I want to start with talking about my favorite characters.
Anthony.
Anthony was my favorite character. You're right. My second favorite characters.
Hmm.
Um, his crew.
Yes.
I I think that's really what made this movie for me was all of like those weird like offbeat jokes that like you didn't really expect.
Hmm.
I thought that this movie had some of the funniest quotes and like moments and it like really shocked me and I think that that's really what got me for this film.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you'd be hard pressed to find anybody that would disagree with you in that regard. Um,
It was just so funny.
I think that it is what injects the more unique vibe that parts of this film has. I think that that is the splashes of color having that crew in there because they're just so
They
unpredictable.
feel and they just like they feel weirdly out of place but like in an in place way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean,
Oh,
they're sort of by design in over their heads, right? They're just like low, low hanging criminals. Criminals may be a harsh word, but ne'er do
yeah.
wells. Um, and they're just sort of thrust into this thing, you know, the
Mhm.
scene where he shrinks
But they
down in
were
front of them
like
for the first time. It's just Michael Pena. I mean, obviously he's the best, I would say. Luis.
yeah, I
But
loved him. I think that like so not only that moment, they're like so supportive of him. They're like, yeah. One of my favorite moments is that they're like, "We'll go get him. We'll go help him." And they're like all like in that van and then they see the police and they're like, "Back up slowly."
back up,
And that
back up,
goes on
back up.
way too long. And it was so funny. The other parts that I freaking loved was his like monologues where he was like, "And this is how I heard about this."
Hmm.
It was the most convoluted thing ever, but it was so funny because sometimes I feel like that's how my brain works, where
Yeah.
it's like it jumps from thing to thing, and then all of a sudden I like this is how we got to this topic, and it
Yeah.
was so funny.
You just,
Ugh.
well, it's a trope that a lot of people fall into when they're telling a story, particularly one that they think is more interesting than it actually is. They sort of start way further back in the snowball
Mhm.
than they need to get the context
Mhm.
out, which obviously he's called out on a couple of times. So no, he's used to very good effect. He plays the character very well in what could have been quite an annoying character.
Mhm.
if not handled well. But he is sort of like MVP really of the film, I'd say, and
I
that crew as a whole.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely agree. I loved every second they were on screen. I'll
Hmm.
be honest, I almost rewatched this movie because it's been a while since I first watched it, like a week and a half or something like that, 2 weeks? 2 weeks? I can't remember. Anyways, it's been a while, so I almost rewatched it because I was like, I just wanted to watch those crew moments again. I didn't really care about the rest of the film, but
Hmm.
I was like, I can at least relive this, like, these brief funny moments.
Yeah.
Um, really enjoyed that. So I wanted to get that out of the way because that's I was high on it. Anthony, not much to say, him or me, but I did really enjoy Anthony. Rest in peace.
Pieces.
Sam, what's wrong with you?
Well, I don't know. He's probably got splattered
What
quite a
would
lot
you
there.
do
Yeah.
if I was an emotional person and I just started crying right now? And I was like, no,
You are an emotional person, and it is highly possible that you could start crying right now if I kept going.
do
So,
it.
well, I think I've milked the Anthony line as much as I
Oh,
feel
okay.
capable of doing. You know.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I was just about to roast you, but I'm not going to. I'm gonna be nice.
Mm,
Okay. What other characters we have? We have the bad guy,
yes.
which I could not place where I saw him from, but I like him. He's a good
Do you
actor.
want to know where you've seen him?
Um, sure.
I can tell you. He's not been in the MCU before.
Well, no, I know he's not been in the MCU.
Do you want me to tell you where you've seen him?
Yes, I do.
House of Cards.
Oh, he was in House of Cards. You're right.
Yeah. Peter
He's
is.
playing a very different role here.
In ways, yes.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, good call. That
Yeah.
is definitely for once you did actually know where I'd seen somebody from.
Hmm. I
Oh,
mean, technically, you could have seen him in something else. It's not like he's
he's
only been
also
in
in
two
Law and
things, but
Order.
yeah, he was in. I don't know why I'm blanking on the name of it. It was a show about vampires.
Was he
Um,
really?
yeah. As soon as I'm going to look it up because I've got
Oh my
the.
god, he's been in a lot of the CSI and Law and
What
Order
is it?
shows.
What's the show I'm thinking of? What am I thinking of? Oh, that's the wrong thing. I'm looking at
It's not
the wrong thing.
Twilight. The Strain?
The Strain. The Strain. That's it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I still haven't seen that.
Yeah.
My dad keeps insisting I watch it. Okay, so I think he was a good villain, not great villain.
Mm.
It's just a villain. Besides when he murdered Anthony and then he went to the worst villain.
Yeah, this is a point of contention, I suppose. I don't like him um, as a character. I think Corey Stoll is a very talented actor. Um, but going back to sort of like my generic cookie cutter thing, and this is not just an Ant-Man thing because a lot of Marvel films of this era do sort of fall into these trappings, even nowadays to an
Mhm.
extent, where it is, the villain ends up being just a bad, different colored version of the hero, um,
Mhm.
which is a trend that you will unfortunately see continue in certain projects, but handled potentially better in others. And I think the writing did his character a disservice more than anything because
Mm.
sure there are acting choices involved in that as well, but he was very shouty and melodramatic,
Mm.
and it always, every time I've seen this film, which is quite a lot now, as you can imagine, it's always come across to me as like relatively disingenuous and sort of transparent. I've never really fully believed that he is this legitimate businessman who is, deeply emotionally hurt and um, sort of has this grudge against Hank. Yeah, it feels like a performance to me, as opposed to him actually being the character. Which is a slight on the writing, I think, more than the actor, because the actor is great in everything else I've seen him in. So
Yeah.
So the combination of like he's just the bad version of the hero and the melodramatic stuff, he doesn't really do anything for me in this film, I'm afraid.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
In
But
a wild
he's
turn of events, my camera has shifted colors from warm to cool toned.
it's just unpredictable.
I know. It is very distracting to my brain. Okay. Yeah, not much to say.
He's
Okay.
dead and gone now anyway, so you've got it squished.
Spoiler. I'm just kidding.
I mean, you've seen the film.
I know. Okay, who else? Who else? Let's go maybe the stepdad? I guess boyfriend? I don't know if they're married or not. I can't remember. Paxton?
No,
The
they're
cop?
engaged, I think. I think he's fiance, so he's not like actually married, but
His okay. Very well acted, well written character. He was intended to bug me, but he bugged me.
yeah.
I was like, "Oh my, can you not like help for just 1 second?"
Yeah, I suppose, but it's that's because the film is angled from Scott's perspective, right? So we're seeing things that contextually we're like, well, obviously you should help him, but that the character in the world is devoid of that information. On top of that, the fact that he's a police officer, so it's like, I think he is inherently disinclined to want to help out a con, or ex-con, I guess.
I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
But also, he was well written, so he drove me crazy.
He
So,
came around in the end, though, when it
yeah,
mattered.
kind of. At least they let the daughter keep the ant.
Just a dog-sized ant.
Oh, dude, that would freak me out. I think I would cry.
That's another good line. When the ant runs out of the house, it's sort of, that's a messed up looking dog.
Yeah. Oh my god, the daughter's like a lot older now. That is how time works, but I just saw a
You mean
picture
the
of her.
actress?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, this film is 8 years old, so
Oh my god.
2015 was nearly getting close to a decade ago.
How do you feel about that?
Very, very sick.
Okay, I have a question for you. This is a slight tangent. I'll keep it quick. 2019 to 2023.
Yeah.
4 years.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't feel like 4 years. And I don't know if this is just like a girl math thing, but you can't convince me that that's 4 years of time. However, 2014 to 2018, I'm like, yeah, that was for sure 4 years. But like 2019 doesn't feel like it was 4 years ago, and it distresses me.
Yeah, but then the older you get, the faster time goes, right? In
Don't say
terms
that
of
to
how
me.
you perceive it. So I get it, like, and also just because routines and everything was upended because of the pandemic and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and I think like
That-
for people around our generation, like it came at not like the worst time, but pretty close to the worst time in terms of developmental stages and just in terms of like life progress and stuff like that.
yeah.
So I think that's why there's that sort of disconnect in terms of how we're processing how much time has passed and what we think. So, but
Yeah. Great. Love it. Okay. Anyways, okay. Who do you want to talk about character wise?
Well, we should probably talk about Ant-Man. Um,
I tried
he
to save the
is
main character for last,
okay. Then we
which is
can
why I
do.
haven't touched it. So
We'll
we
we'll
can touch
do
we
we'll
can
do
talk
Hope
it now.
instead. Then
Okay. You don't want to talk about the daughter or the mom?
I don't think there's really much to say there for either of
Okay.
them.
So then Hope.
Um,
Oh my god, I love her name.
it's a cool name. Van Dyne as well.
Evangeline
That's a
Lilly.
cool surname. Oh, you mean the actress?
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, not a fan of the actress or the character.
She
I
has a cool
think
name though.
both the character and the actress have cool names.
Oh my god, she's in The
Um,
Hobbit.
she is.
Ugh.
She's the elf um, who falls in love with a dwarf. Um, yeah, like Evangeline Lilly is relatively controversial as an actress, so that's
Okay.
where some of my feelings towards her. I think she's a capable actress. Like she was in Lost as well. For those that have seen that, I haven't. Um,
I haven't either.
so I dislike her to an extent for those reasons as an actress, which not is always the case, but somewhat inclines me to not like the characters because there are certain actors that you look at and you regardless, even if they are fully embodying a role, you'll still see. It sounds stupid, but you'll still see the actor.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just one of those people for me where it's sort of been very hard to disconnect. Obviously, the well, not obviously to you, but the controversies with her did come out after this film. It's been recent years, so I didn't have that much of an issue, but I still didn't like her character. Um, she's a girl boss. She gets stuff done, independent, can pack a punch. That's all cool. I like those traits, but and it's been the case with other female characters. I think she's relatively one dimensional. Um, like there are little hints and glints of stuff there, but she comes across as such a wet blanket most of the time. Um, by design, admittedly, but for the same reason that you said, the uh, fiance, the police officer, sort of rubbed you the wrong way a little bit, got on your nerves. Hope always does that for me,
Mm.
where it's part of her character as who she is. It's not like an unintentional thing, but it just doesn't quite sit right with me fully. Um, so it's sort of not that I don't like seeing her character, any potential growth she goes through, but she's never really been a character that I'm emotionally invested in and rooting for. You know?
Yeah, that makes sense. I just also want to say it because I looked it up. I just
Mm.
Googled her briefly. Her name actually isn't Evangeline. She changed her name to Evangeline.
Yes, it's Nicole. Yeah.
And now I'm upset with her.
Hey,
I'm
that's a
cross
very
with her
common
now.
practice. Most actors' names aren't their names.
Would you change yours?
Um, technically, I already had the option to and decided not to.
Okay.
Um, you have to sort of like professionally register when you're going into unions and stuff.
Ah, okay. So you already
Um,
professionally registered under your name?
so you have to put like a professional stage name, which I
Okay.
didn't opt to change. I could technically do that still if I wanted to, but obviously that's like you're advised not to if you've already built up somewhat of a repertoire and catalogue of work, because then it gets confusing because people will be
Would you want to?
looking. Um, I don't know. I've never really felt the inclination to. You know, I'm not one of those people that don't like their names. I think I like my name.
Yeah.
Um, the only like slight consideration I would have had, obviously, I'm not really actively pursuing that right now, but the only consideration I've ever had is um, not necessarily fully changing, but like just shortening my first name down. So
Mm.
get rid of the UEL on the end.
Mm.
Um, not because that is in any way worse. You know, it's not like it's affecting me, but I think that um, having a typically speaking, having a shorter name that is easier for people to remember helps you in
Fair
terms of
enough.
exposure and people discussing you. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, obviously you can get to a level of stardom where that doesn't matter, like Leonardo DiCaprio. That's a long, quite complicated name and stuff like that. Um, and plenty of actors do still use their real names. You know, Chiwetel Ejiofor is one that I can think of off the top of my head. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it's you know it's a subjective thing, but I don't think
Yeah.
I would change my name really, not fundamentally anyway. I wouldn't become Anthony. Um,
Not Anthony. No.
I'm just I'm setting myself up to take a bullet. Then no, I don't
I
want to do that.
know.
Don't want nobody to clip my wings. Yeah, where were we?
We were just talking about Hope, and I really don't have much to say about the character, honestly.
Yeah.
I obviously had no idea about any controversy or anything.
Mm.
Still don't. I mean, now I'm having a controversy with her because I can't believe she lied about her name. But other than that,
That was
um,
the controversy I was referencing. Yep,
I'm sure.
that's
I'm
the one I
sure.
meant.
But regardless, I didn't love it. Had nothing to do with the performance. Didn't love the character. I didn't really love the dynamic um between her and really any of the other characters. So
Yeah, like
I don't know.
narratively, it's because she's sort of emotionally distant from her dad, even though technically she's still secretly working with him. She's still emotionally distant because of losing her mom and stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
And also she
and
like
she's
came around to working with him, right?
yeah.
So
Um, and obviously she ends the film in a more cooperative mindset. But yeah, I still think that there's room to work on her character a little bit.
fair enough.
I think as a like a supporting character who is less of a wet blanket, she's got a lot of potential.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
that's sort of where I would place her if I have to.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Again, don't really have too much to say.
Yeah.
I just had a good time with the comedy, to be honest. So
Mm.
okay. Let's see. All right, the Dr. Hank Pym?
Doctor, we got there in the end. Yeah, Dr. Hank Pym.
Okay. I was making sure I was pronouncing that right. I don't know how else you could pronounce it, but you never
Yeah,
know.
Pime, maybe.
Maybe. Or maybe it's just a wildly different pronunciation. I always go off on this tangent,
Pym,
but there are
Pym.
anime that people have a hard time pronouncing because of like the way that like there's an anime called FLCL that's like how it's spelled, but to pronounce it it's called Fooly Cooly. So I always just give that,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah,
that space for names to be weird.
yeah,
Okay, how do we feel about him? I actually kind of liked his character. I thought
yeah.
he was fun. I
I
enjoyed.
think. Sorry.
No, go
Carry
ahead.
on. No,
No.
please.
I was just gonna say I really enjoyed like the whole like him tricking him to get the suit and all of that. I think he's a really smart character
Mm.
with a lot of foresight. So
I think the reason why I don't like Hope as a character as much as I do is because Hank is just a better version. Like Hank toes
Yeah.
the line between being this sort of grizzled, experienced, sort of emotionally wrought man, but he still within this film is very funny and
Yeah.
has light-hearted moments within his cynicism and stuff.
Well,
And technically, Hope does as well, but I just think that they don't land quite as well. Um,
I also think it's worth pointing out that like he's the only hero that we've seen like post hero thus far.
yeah, like he's the um, sole retiree who's passed on the mantle, so to speak. Which is again, I think that helps his character because it makes it seem more fresh compared to other
Mhm.
characters in other films and in this film. Um, no, I think he's good, and even just like on an outside flex, the fact that a film called Ant Man in a CGI heavy superhero film managed to get Michael Douglas, who's like a legendary actor, you know, that
I
that
don't know.
counts for something.
Yeah, for sure counts for something. No idea. Never seen him.
That's sad.
Or at least not to my knowledge.
I'm sure you've 100% seen him in other stuff. There's
I am
no way
looking
you've
through
missed
his
everything.
IMDb and I haven't seen anything thus far. I'll keep going, but yeah, good character. I haven't seen any of
God damn it.
this. Look one more time just in case. I mean, I've seen Phineas and Ferb, but I haven't seen all of the episodes, and he was only
That
in one
doesn't
episode.
count. That doesn't
So
count.
I haven't seen any of it. I just looked again.
That's okay.
Okay. Well, it's not much we can do about it.
Take it from me, he's a very renowned actor.
Oh, I believe you. I believe you with
Yeah.
all stuff acting. You could totally lie to me and I wouldn't even know.
Won 2 Oscars. That's a big deal when you're dragging in that
It
kind of
is.
talent to these films. I mean, obviously they're doing it for the paycheck as well, but this like contextually, this is around the era where the steam behind the MCU was really building.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was, I mean, there still is, but it's diminished somewhat as of late. Um, Nothing compared to what it was back in this era. Like it was. I mean, I'm sure you tangentially heard about it, but like every single film that was coming out was so heavily discussed and hyped up. And I think that, I mean, you will see over the coming films that more and more like top tier talent, Academy
Mm-hmm.
Award winning actors funnel into this thing more and more frequently. And it's because not
Yeah.
only because of the paychecks, but because they know that they're going to get massive amounts of exposure from it. So it's like a win-win for them. And it's fun, you know. I think
Yeah.
filming these things are probably more fun than your average film. So
Probably, yeah.
yeah.
Well, looking forward to seeing a bunch of fun actors. It'll be a good time, I'm sure. If I liked Ant Man, then I'm at this point just convinced.
Hmm.
So, um, okay, let's
And just
see.
before we move on, Hank also at the end of the film gave Hope her own suit. So it's
Yeah,
he's
it was her mom's suit, right? Or no, no,
well, not
they were
like not
prototyping it to
literally,
be
but
hers,
yeah, the
but it was
same.
based off of her mom's.
Yeah. So he's a caring father, even though he seems distant and detached. He was doing stuff for her the whole time.
I mean, prediction that I think is a pretty easy prediction. He's got to save the mom. Like, I'm pretty sure. that'll be the plot, or at least a subplot in one of the next films.
Interesting.
I feel like that's pretty obvious. So hopefully that's not like a crazy prediction.
If you say so.
I do also want to shout out that they had freaking what's his name? I know his name's Sam, but I can't remember his hero name right now.
Falcon.
There you go. I love that he was in this movie.
Just give me
Like
more of him.
the part that they were fighting was so funny, and he's like, I can't tell Captain America.
Well, it is
That was.
embarrassing.
I mean, yeah, it would be pretty embarrassing to be beat up by like a little, like literally, like
Because how do you
ant-sized
explain
dude.
that? You're like, I got beaten up by a little guy in a stupid outfit. It's like, well, you're not much of an
Well,
Avenger then, are you?
all of them are stupid guys and stupid outfits.
Touche.
But this one was particularly tiny. And yes, it would be very embarrassing. Yeah, like the Avengers headquarters that's super secure got breached by this little tiny dude.
By a
And I could
dude
do
calling
nothing to
himself
stop him.
Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely embarrassing. A really funny moment in the film though. I think that
Mhm.
they I think that that was a really good use of his character. And I'm glad that they had him.
It's a very
Uh
effortless way to not only give us more of his character, but to, in a film that is for the most part detached from everything else, add a little bit of the interconnectedness
yeah.
that isn't like
I think
explicitly requiring tons of homework. Like,
yeah.
because it is more of like a, oh, I think I've seen that guy before, even if you don't know
Yeah,
exactly who he is. You're like, oh, that's
absolutely.
an Avenger person, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
And I think that it's like fun as well that like he has awareness, like like Ant-Man has awareness of the Avengers. It obviously makes sense, but I
mm,
like that they like kind of point that out that he's like, I'm a huge fan. Like, I'm so sorry.
yeah. Did
I
he
thought
just
that
say
was
hi?
fun
I'm
as well.
Scott. That's
Yeah. So good.
yeah.
So so good. Okay. All right, let's talk about Ant-Man. Unless there's anybody else
Worst
you want me to
character
touch
in the
on.
film.
Oh, you take that back. No, I know you don't believe that because you last time we spoke were like, I love Paul Rudd so much.
Yeah, no, he's
You said it just like that.
just like that. That pitch as well, that tone, everything. He nailed it. Should get
In
into
the
a voice group.
accent too.
Yeah, yeah. Um, no, I think he is about as perfectly cast as you can get. Like the MCU casting director, Sarah Haley Finn, she has one of the most impeccable track records I've seen.
Has
Because,
she been the casting director for everything?
yep,
Oh wow.
all the way
Okay.
back to Downey Jr. And still to this day. Um, yeah, she somehow manages to get the person that just melts away into the role, you know? Like
Mm-hmm.
Paul Rudd is very recognizable and you know everyone thinks he's cute and adorable and stuff, but like, and I'm going to say it anyway because I'm a massive Marvel MCU fan, but like
What?
he is Ant-Man to me, which sounds like really cheesy to say, but I think you understand what I mean when I'm saying it.
Yeah.
Like everything about his character is believable. I don't for a second think that the person I'm looking at right now isn't who they're telling me he is.
I would agree with that. I
Yeah.
think that he was really well cast and I think that he plays the role really well.
Mm-hmm.
Um I think it also is it feels like he I mean, obviously I haven't watched like any interviews or something, but it feels like he really enjoys the role as well
Mm-hmm.
and has like a fun time with it.
Yeah.
So I think that I mean also but like what's not to like about the character? Like he's kind of like a bumbling idiot, but like wants to be a good guy kind of thing, you
Yeah.
know?
You're playing a
So
nice character. And I don't mean like
Yeah.
a good guy. I mean like he's just a genuinely nice dude that has really pure intentions.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
which
Um,
again fits perfectly with Paul Rudd because he is a pure individual. Look at him.
so I just looked through.
Hmm.
I've only seen him in one thing
Is it this?
besides this.
Oh, okay.
Besides this.
With
And it was
Jizz.
The Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Ah,
And that's the only other thing I've seen him in. But like obviously I knew who he was. So I'm confused like where I knew who he was, but doesn't matter. It just confused me.
have you watched Friends?
No.
Okay, well he's in
I
that
haven't
a
seen
little
a
bit.
single episode of that.
Don't.
Or Seinfeld. That's the other one that gets asked a lot.
No, no.
I just
Yeah,
looked through his
maybe not. Maybe
IMDb.
it
I
is just
haven't seen.
because, to be fair, this is probably it. I might have hit the nail on the head again. He is very memed.
Yeah, for
So
sure. Like
you're a
I've
TikTok person, so that's
seen him
probably where you've
around.
seen a lot of him.
What does that mean? I'm offended right
Well, I'm not wrong, so don't take offense.
now.
Just pointing out a fact.
Listen,
Are you
just because
about
I
to
quote
try and
TikToks
argue
all
that
the
you're not?
time, just because I quote TikToks all the time, you should see me around my siblings. We all quote TikToks. So we basically only talking TikTok quotes. It's a great time.
Nightmare.
Um, alrighty. Well, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say about his character. I loved his like his character arc. I think
Hmm.
that I really enjoyed him running into like the obstacles that he ran into where he had to kind of he wanted to be a better person, right? So he gets out of jail, prison, whichever. And like wants to be around for his daughter
Hmm.
and then tries to accomplish that but not like he's not fully committed to it essentially. And it kind of backfires in his face. And I really enjoyed that like little character arc because he realized like, oh, I can't just like half-ass this. Like if I want to be a good father, like I have to like full ass this.
Yeah,
And then he does. And I really enjoyed that.
but there's also like the idea that he did the break into Hank's house because he realized that it would take forever to get the money required to let him see his kid.
Mm-hmm.
But if he didn't do that, if he didn't use the skills that he had inherently built up in his life of crime, he wouldn't have found the suit. Even though Hank did say he had his eye on him anyway, like,
Do you think that
you
he
know,
would have ended up as Ant-Man if he hadn't done that?
I don't know.
Because if he
Like,
had his eye on
potentially,
him, would he have eventually reached out?
potentially.
Or yeah.
Because, like, I know that breaking into the house successfully was like the defining factor that was like, okay, he is the right person for the role. But if he was watching him, then you could probably argue that would probably find some other way to test him, if not directly approach and ask him.
Mm-hmm.
But then the answer would be the real question would be would Scott then accept? If it didn't happen this way,
Yeah.
if Hank did just come up to him and say, "Hey, look, I was a superhero. I need you to be the superhero now and do this thing for me." I don't know if Scott would have gone for that necessarily because another interesting thing is that he is the only hero that we've really seen outside of the Hulk technically that like rejects it.
Mm-hmm.
Like normally you would play after that first scene where he accidentally shrinks and falls through the building and all the bad stuff happens to him. Typically in films you would normally have it be where the hero that's in the suit would be like, whoa, what the hell was that? That was crazy, that was wild, that was awesome, etc., etc. But he immediately is like, nope, I'm done with that, I don't want any of that nonsense. um
uh,
which makes his character equally more interesting, I'd say. But the fact that everything in his life had to happen the exact way that it did is kind of similar to Iron Man, I guess, in that sense, where like if Iron Man didn't have the accident and then was forced into the cave and then had the magnet put into his chest, he would never have had the shift. And then you're getting more into like basic narrative structure there. But I think that they found an interesting way to do that with this film.
Yeah. I liked it. I think that he was really well written, and I did enjoy his character's journey. I'm really looking forward to seeing him, one, interact with like more heroes, and just two, getting to see more of his story. I
Never
think
see him
that
again. True story.
fake story, because I know that there's two more Ant-Man films.
But do they have Paul Rudd in it? You know?
Yes, because
Are you
you would
sure
have
about
already
that?
complained about him getting recast if not.
I'm very good at not giving
That's
things
not true.
away.
That's not true.
That is true.
It's not true. I'm
I
not saying you're
mean,
bad at
did
it.
I
I'm not
did I
saying you're bad at
partially
it.
did I sort of fool you when I said that Bucky was dead? You know, that was
Sort
like you
of.
said you had your doubts, but I got in your head about it.
Did you?
Just say yes. It makes this whole thing easier.
Okay. All right. If that's what helps you.
I'm a genius. Thank you. Yeah, all I needed to hear.
Okay. Okay. Next question. It's everybody's favorite question. Does this pass the Bechdel test? I really don't think it does. I didn't Google it. I can say with almost 100% certainty it doesn't.
I don't know that there are two female characters on the screen together.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of the mum and the daughter,
Yeah. I mean,
but
that
then
for
they're
sure
always
doesn't
talking about the
count.
dad. So yeah, I don't think it does.
It does not pass the Bechdel test. It does
No.
have good female characters. That's what this article says. Great female characters, but no, it doesn't pass the test.
Yeah.
Not surprised at this point. It's fine. Because they had Anthony, I'll let it pass this time.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. Any other things? Oh wait, I missed Stan Lee completely.
What?
Hold
What?
on. I know.
How could you miss it? It's one of the best ones. Well, not necessarily one of the best ones, but it's a very good one.
You won't be happy if I answer that question, so I'm not going to.
Particularly,
Is he in one of like the cutback scenes?
he's in one of Lewis's things,
Like
Lewis's
his
monologues.
spiels? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I wasn't watching the screen at that point for sure.
What do you mean you weren't watching the screen? You said you liked them,
I do. But I just
but
like
not
listening.
enough to watch them?
I get distracted.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. You should go look it up on YouTube. Yeah, just have a look up the Ant-Man
I
Stan Lee cameo.
Okay. I will. I mean, I'm probably gonna rewatch this movie pretty shortly.
That's fair enough. Do that, but make sure you're watching the screen because you know you don't want to fool me once. Shame on you. Fool me twice. Also, shame on you. You know. Um,
No one's here to babysit me. I need help.
that's no. You're a grown woman. You can do this. I believe.
That's what you think. That's funny. I don't. I can't. Anyways, we're gonna move past that before I get in trouble. Anything else that you wanted to talk about for the story of the movie?
Um, I like how the film started. You know.
Yeah, where
Yeah.
they like punch each other. That feels like such a dude thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously, it shows why Hank decided to walk away from being a hero because he didn't want to share the particles. But also, again, what I like the most, nice little bit of world building there. Because
Ah, that part. I thought you were talking about like the punching thing.
I mean, I am talking. Well, no, not in the prison. I mean
Okay.
the Hank thing back in the
Okay. Yeah.
70s, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Um,
With
yeah,
Stark,
no,
right?
yeah, got little old Howard Stark there and Peggy,
Mm-hmm.
which is nice because that tells us that Peggy was she was sort of basic, not necessarily fully leading, but like was one of the leaders of Shield, which is a nice little bit of information to have. Um, and also, if you will recall, if you can trace your mind back to
I probably can't,
all the
but
way back to Winter Soldier,
okay.
the building that they're in at the start of this film that's currently under construction, if you will remember,
Ah, is that where they go under? No, wait.
that
Yeah.
is the building that one of the big shippy things crashes into in Winter Soldier. It's the Shield
Oh,
headquarters.
okay. Okay.
Technically, it's called the Triskelion, but that's not relevant information.
You
Although the
just
film
wanted to
does tell
flex.
you that. Well, I mean, the film does tell you that. So, like, unless that was one
So
of
you
the
wanted
other
to
times that
flex.
you weren't looking at the screen, it would have
Probably.
told you that it was the Triskelion because you're just like, oh, you flick your eyes up, it's like, oh, it's a building, and then you look back down to whatever you're doing, knitting maybe,
I don't knit. God damn it.
crochet, potato.
They're so different.
They're the same thing. Um, yeah, no,
Are we fighting
that
now?
no,
'Cause I'll-
no real additional thing I'm adding there, but just pointing
okay.
it out that
Just pointing it out.
similar to Sam, being in the film, like that is very subtle but effective and
Mm-hmm.
non-intrusive world building that
Mm-hmm.
just sort of helps to add that little layer of depth that the film wouldn't have had otherwise. And it doesn't take that much time, but it is rewarding to fans at the same time. Like you get a bit more character growth, development, fleshing out the world. You're like, oh, I see that person again. But for those that know, you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, we're connecting dots that I didn't even realize existed now, which is
Yeah.
the part of the fun of it.
It is part of the fun of it. Not that I pay attention enough to these movies to do that, but when
Yeah.
I do pay attention enough to other things, I have fun.
Yeah.
Maybe if I ever watch everything, I will not be watching Hulk again. That's for sure. That was a mistake the first time. Anyways, through line stuff. There's like I think there's two post credit scenes, if I
There
remember
is.
correctly. First one not super relevant. Second one was seemingly leading into something else for Captain America.
Oh, yeah. It's just Steve and Sam, and Bucky was like locked in a thing, and they're like, "What's going on?"
Yeah,
And
it was a real
Sam,
Clive moment for him.
you probably would have preferred it if Sebastian Stan was buck naked. That's probably what.
Bucky
Yeah,
naked.
I'll let you revel in that one a minute, just so you can feel proud. Um,
Who gave me a microphone?
I don't know who, but it was a mistake. Um, yeah, so there's obviously something going on. They need some help. So Sam says he knows someone, but who's that? Nobody knows.
Yeah.
It's Scott.
No way.
You never would have guessed, but
Who would have guessed it?
yeah.
Okay. Okay. My makeup that I just did right before we recorded this, like running, because I keep crying laughing because I'm so
Mm.
funny.
Yeah.
I can't believe you didn't laugh at my joke. I know you wanted to, and then you
Just not going to provide the satisfaction.
yeah, you wanted to though. That's okay. Alrighty. Last thing that we can touch on here, ranking. After we have discussed it, as I said, I wanted to withhold it. I think I'm gonna put it second.
You put it
After
where you
Guardians of
want.
the Galaxy. I know. Let me explain though.
Okay.
Because they both of these films have an emphasis on comedy, which I feel like is seeming what I tend to prefer in these films.
Hmm.
Um, so they both have that emphasis in comedy, but I think Guardians of the Galaxy better um has more fleshed out characters and like a more in-depth world, which I know that Ant-Man wasn't intended to be super in-depth.
Hmm.
It's just kind of supposed to be a slice, but I think because Guardians has just that has all of the comedy beats, and it may not be quite as funny as Ant-Man. I think it has that depth and storytelling that like kind of makes up the difference. So I think that's where I'm gonna put it. Obviously, subject to change if I change my mind.
Okay. Okay.
How are you feeling? Let me give you your. Where do you want me
You
to start?
s-
We've got
s-
11 total. Well, 12 including this one.
go
Top
from
five.
top to bottom.
Okay.
Just go through all of
Winter
them. Just like
Soldier,
yeah.
Age of Ultron,
Hmm.
Avengers,
Hmm.
Guardians of the Galaxy,
Yeah.
Thor,
Yeah.
Iron Man 3,
Yeah.
Iron Man,
Hmm.
Captain America First Avenger, Iron Man
Hmm.
2,
Hmm.
Hulk, and Thor Dark World, which was an insult to Thor Dark World, I will say.
Warranted.
No,
It's the
Hulk
worst
was
film we've
bad.
seen this far. No, no, it's not.
No, Hulk is the worst.
No, it's not. Um, Sacrilege potentially to you.
Okay, that's fine.
I think. Don't recoil in horror when I ask you because I'm just going to check.
Okay.
What number was Iron Man 3?
That's 6.
6.
Thor
And
is
just above Iron
5.
Man 3 was 5. Okay, yeah.
Thor at 5, yeah.
Yeah, I thought 5. I'll put it I'll put it at 6, just above Iron Man 3.
Okay,
Because like
there we go.
I agree with you that I think the film is very funny and there are so many things that I love about it.
Mhm.
But there are many other things that sort of just drag it down a little bit in terms of I think the performances are inconsistent and like contextually something I'll bring up here because there wasn't really a relevant point to do so. Do you know who was originally? And this might mean nothing to you, but I'll check just before I sort
Just
of
in case, okay.
explain, just in case you do know. Um, there was a relatively well-known director attached to this film initially
Okay.
that dropped out because of creative differences, which basically meant that Marvel were trying to rewrite his script and he didn't want that to happen.
Okay.
That director was Edgar Wright. I see you don't know who Edgar Wright is. Edgar Wright is the
Oh,
director
Baby
of
Driver.
Baby Driver, Shaun of the
Oh,
Dead,
Scott Pilgrim.
Scott Pilgrim versus the World. So even if you've only seen like one of those films that we just mentioned, um, have you seen any of those films? I assume you've seen Scott Pilgrim at least.
I've seen Scott Pilgrim so many times. I like had to watch it for a college class too.
Yeah.
I have seen Baby Driver. I think those are the only two that I've seen.
Okay. Well, even just from those two, you can tell that Edgar Wright has a very distinctive filmmaking style. You know, very
Yes.
fast, quippy edits, very strong focus on comedy most of the time.
Mhm.
Um, in Baby Driver, as an example, he works very well with music. Obviously, that
Mhm.
is a very specific example, but in the other film, Scott Pilgrim had good music, and so does his other stuff. And that is regarded in the fan base space as one of the biggest missed opportunities as
Mm.
possible. Because if you take like Paul Rudd as Ant-Man and you stick him in a film that has the style of Edgar Wright, that really fast-paced, quippy editing stuff, that could be like magic, I
Yeah,
think.
it really could have.
Which is why it's so disappointing that it didn't happen. I still think that there is potential that he might come at some point to do a Marvel film, not necessarily an Ant-Man one, but something. Because he clearly has some form of interest in getting into the space, or at least he did then.
Maybe not anymore.
Maybe not anymore. Maybe it soured his experience. I wouldn't
Burned
blame him.
bridges.
I wouldn't blame him, because why would you? Like, Wright has a relatively impeccable track record, and his
Yeah.
style is so recognizable that I don't know why you'd want to mess with that, especially the writing, because he is writer, director, and everything he's done. So he's good at writing as well, clearly. But yeah, Peyton Reed is the director that they brought back in to do this film as his
Yeah, don't know who
replacement.
that is either.
Nobody does, and there's a reason, because it's his visual style is non-distinct. It's all relatively generic, which is serviceable, but it's not exciting. And I think that Ant-Man has the potential, due to how ridiculous it is and the potential that his powers hold. It could be a very exciting film,
Yeah.
both creatively and whatnot. So, and unfortunately, to burst the bubble ahead of time, Peyton Reed directed both of the subsequent Ant-Man films as well. Not that that is indicative of quality. I'm not saying that, but just as an indication that he has stuck around. Has he improved, though? You'll have to wait to find out.
Guess we will. I will say Scott Pilgrim has some of the funniest moments in film, I think, ever.
Yeah, there you go.
Scott Pilgrim, like when he jumps out the window, he's like,
Just
"Is he
kidding.
home?"
I forgot that Roman was in it. McCulkin.
Yeah, that's where I knew him from. I was like, "What in the world?"
Yeah. I only
I think
because I
that's part of
saw
the
I
reason
saw
why I
that
liked
clip.
him.
I saw that clip recently from Scott Pilgrim. I was like, oh my god, yeah, no, I completely forgot, because I hadn't seen it for years at that point. But yes, alas, maybe there is some version of some multiverse out there that Edgar Wright did stick around, and Ant-Man was my favorite film, but we are not in it.
Yeah. Oh well. Next time. Next time
Still good
around.
though. Still good.
Next time when they remake everything. I'm just kidding.
Hey, the reboot will happen eventually.
I know it will. It'll
So
probably we have I think a little bit of time left before that. So
at least a decade, I would wager.
I think we'll probably have a little bit more than that because they're still going to be pushing like new stuff, and like the stuff that they've already done is like still watchable, kind of. Hulk isn't, but the rest of them are. Okay. Anything else before we go? I don't have anything else.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody so much for watching and
I'm
hanging
going to
out. I
derail
really
your outro. I'm derailing your outro. I did just realize something completely inconsequential, but worth pointing out. We finished phase 2. This is the end of phase 2. We are on to
Oh
phase
my
3.
god.
So
What's
technically, if we're
next?
talking about phases, we are basically halfway through. In terms of content, that is not even close, because these
I
next
feel
two
like we're halfway
phases
through.
are no, we're not. We are not halfway
I know
through.
we're not, especially with the TV shows and everything, but I feel like
Yeah,
it.
yeah. For context, Guardians was the 10th film.
Mm-hmm.
Ant-Man, meaning that's the 12th, because there was Ultron in between.
Yeah.
So Ant-Man is
Mm-hmm.
number 12. I think we are currently, in terms of projects, including TV shows, at 42. So
That's not bad.
we are not halfway through. These next two
Good thing.
phases are stacked in terms of stuff. This is where all the content starts coming out.
What is next? Let's see. Civil War?
Indeed, it is.
Okay. And remind me again when we're hitting the TV shows. I don't care which one, just when does the first TV show start?
They begin after
Oh my god, we're almost to Spider-Man.
Spider-Man Far From Home, which is at the very end of phase 3.
Phase 3. Okay.
So we're beginning phase 3 now, and at the very end of phase 3. Well, no, not in
So
phase
you're
3,
telling
but
me I have like another 10 weeks to 20 weeks of Taylor saying you need to watch Daredevil?
uh, yeah. And newsflash, in terms of order, we won't be doing Daredevil first.
Oh god.
Because the Daredevil stuff that he's getting is complicated. The Daredevil stuff he wants us to watch is technically not currently canon to the MCU. Like it's not connected really. They sort of referenced it in Daredevil. They were like, "Oh, that the Battle of New York, you remember that?" But you never see any pictures of any MCU people. So it's like there is a risk of watching it and it being completely unnecessary. But we're still gonna. I said to Taylor, and just I agree that for undisclosed, redacted reasons, the first season is something we should watch.
Okay.
So, but that won't come till even further down the line. Not super much further down the line, but yeah, the start of phase 4 is the very first project of phase 4 is the first TV show. So we've got like a dozen
We have
films to watch before then. I think
okay.
something like that.
Tell me honestly.
Yep.
Can we catch up by 2025? That seems realistic, right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh God, no. I mean, if like optimistically, even if we're doing one of these every 2 weeks, we would probably be pretty good to go like latter half of next year,
Okay,
if
sounds
that.
good. Because personally, I really want to watch Blade, and that's
Yeah,
supposed
but
to
who
come out in
knows when that's coming out?
2025.
Who
It
knows?
says 2025.
Yeah, but that's nebulous. They just have to keep delaying it. They haven't started filming or anything, so
That's fine. That's fine. And also, there's like strikes and stuff, so who knows? But
yeah,
we just have to catch up by then. Okay.
we almost
Um.
certainly will be, unless for some reason they finish filming the film really quickly and then move it up on the schedule, which is
Fair enough.
not impossible, but pretty much impossible.
Fair enough. Alrighty. Well, special shout out to our patrons. We've got Bucky Blue, Amon, Fabulous Brianna, Brianna's mom, Brianna's brother, Brianna's wife, Nikolai at Night, Cypher Primus, Brendan Myers, Marcus O'Neill, Lillian, Mimi J, The Snack Network, David Hotright, Dave Harp, the Xbox Expansion Pass, Alpaca Tom, and Lee Navarro. Thanks everybody for your support, including our new patron. Thank you guys. Getting one person closer to tattoos.
Stop it.
Where can people find you?
In the Discord, I'm just gonna say that, like, because
Oh, we're just
nowadays,
lying now?
well,
I'm just kidding.
there's
I'm
probably the
just kidding.
best chance you have, you know.
That's fair. That's fair.
So, and also just incentivizes people to get in the Discord. So just
Yeah,
come
I
join the
really do
Discord.
think everybody should join the Discord. It's a great time.
Just a bit of fun. Even if you don't talk all that much, you can still be involved, see what people are saying.
Yep, that's
You
true.
don't have
You
to
can
feel
just
you.
lurk and then get
Yeah,
upset when people say that pancakes are good, which they aren't.
yeah. You don't need to. There's plenty of like spicy Starfield takes coming in right now in the Discord. Everyone's
Yeah.
diving in. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
this is a film podcast, but there's plenty of film discussion going on, frame by frame. You can check that out as well. There's a
Mm-hmm.
little cross pollination there. Check that out.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So just join the Discord. That's the easiest thing to say.
Yeah, that was a
But
good spiel.
I know you wanna spell your name. So where do people find you?
I don't really want to spell my name. You could just find me at Fabulous Brianna. But the problem is that my name is not spelled normally in two different ways.
Yeah,
I have two N's and
yeah.
an E, which neither of which are normal. So it's Breanna. And fabulist is Fabulist, if that helps. Because that's also not a normal word. It's not a everyday word that people use.
Yeah.
So that was on me. Thank you guys for hanging out. We'll see you in 2 weeks when we watch Captain America
Civil War.
Civil War, which came out in 2016. Oh, we're almost at Doctor Strange, and then we'll be at Spider-Man, and then I'll be happy.
Then you'll be happy.
Yeah, Spider-Man is where I'll be happy.
I didn't realize it was a waiting until Spider-Man thing.
Well,
Damn, the illusion shattered.
only thing I care about at this point is Spider-Verse.
Damn. Right. Tossing Anthony aside so quickly. Despicable.
Whatever, you made jokes about him being in pieces.
I mean, he is. He's a bit over there. There's a bit over there.
Not half as funny as my Bucky joke, but we'll leave it there. Have a good 2 weeks. We'll see you later. Bye.